to analyze a stock that is on the way down than to bottom feed and try and pick up a stock from the bottom and have it send it up.
And it's funny because it doesn't even need to be massive positions. I've seen people risk $5, $10 and they're sweating, because it's just now it's real.
The amount of mental space that it takes. Is this a proper push? What kind of play is it? Is it an A play, a B play, a C play? Sizing, full size versus half size. Why? What are we looking at exactly? Is this gap up short or is this a first red day? Is this a V? Sometimes realizing that, I'm in revenge trade mode right now.
All right.
Here we are.
Here we are, Sean. I'm super excited to be here today.
Years in the making. We finally meet.
That's wild, eh? So for those of you who don't know, I've been trading with Sean for years. We've known each other for years, but this is actually the first day.
First time we meet.
We meet in person.
Crazy.
So
Crazy.
I'm excited. I'm actually excited to hear your story
Let's
more.
go.
Dig deep into it. So so I guess we'll fire it off. We'll just start.
Jump in.
With first off, how did you get involved with trading? What's your story? What's your background?
Crazy. I went to university, graduated. I was working in the service industry, so bartender by trade since I was 16. Money was great, never really left. And then COVID hit in restaurants. As we know, in Quebec, Montreal, we were probably one of, there's a few industries that were hit really hard. Restaurant industry was one of them. So we were shut down for almost 2 years. I was bored out of my mind. I was like, what am I doing with my time? So I picked up a bunch of books. I love to read. So it was books, online videos, just podcasts and kind of this stuff, And then I slowly got into trading. It went well. It didn't go too well. It went really well. It went really bad. And then had a few friends who were part of the trading desk crew. And they were like, hey, you should check out these guys. Started off, super slow. Joined in a slower market. Took about 2 months before I took my first official trade because the market was just so much slower. And then over time, we just built and built and built. And then, here we are.
That's
so it's
awesome.
about 5 years now of steady trading.
That's crazy. Yeah. How long were you trading before you officially joined the trading desk
on
your own?
Probably, I want to say a year.
Okay.
A year of, it was mostly swing trading, long biased. The trades were good. They were all over the place. There's no real strategy. But during COVID, everything was going up. So I thought I figured something was working, Money was coming in. I was like, this is fantastic. And then took a few losses here and there, and then just like a slow bleed, not to end up in a position of losing, what I had made, but definitely not maintaining the growth that I had. So I was like, I got to find something that's a bit more sustainable, profitable. And then, not to name drop anyone, but Julien Barron at the time was one of the boys who was with Frank. And he was like, hey, you got to check this out. And then joined the crew, started trading, and just never looked back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. And were there any specific aha moments through your journey where, you eventually realized that maybe this could be a full-time thing for you?
So it was definitely on the side of when you have the gains come in regularly, right? It was such a difference between the victories in the swing trading world are much different, right? Like you're bottom fishing, you're hoping for you build a position, you analyze the company, and as we know now, like news and companies don't necessarily mean much in terms of is this going to grow substantially. So my bigger aha moment was like, all right, I'm 6 months in, the trades are coming in, it's profitable, it's sustainable, and then the real test of time for me is doing one full calendar year, having seen all the markets, the slower ones, the stronger ones, the morning push, the no morning pushes, right? Like all that was really a big step for me in realizing that, like, okay, I've been through a full cycle. I've seen everything within parentheses, obviously, but I've seen a lot. We've seen the COVID pushes. We've seen the, bankruptcy turns to crazy exponential growth. And it was just like all that combined with the strategy that, Trading Desk is teaching. I was like, this is fantastic. This is definitely on the right path.
And how long after you found that strategy, joined the trading desk? Because I know for myself, even with proper coaching, it still took a while to get my mindset right, to figure out my style of trading. How long did it take you even after you joined the community to kind of find your own style?
I think that the style is ever evolving. I don't think, I'm not comfortable saying like I have a style that will never change. I think that I'm a bit fluid like the market is. And if, the market is slower, I tend to bring my sizing down a little bit. If the market is stronger and, it's exactly where I want it, then my sizing tends to like go up with it. But in terms of strategy, I think that I'm a bit of a chameleon when it comes to that style of trading because it's not a all in or all out kind of situation. It's more of a overanalyze and adjust as I go, right? It's not like I guess that's my style, you could say.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what would you say would be like the biggest mistakes you made when you started? And or maybe still do. What there's always challenges. You never really arrive in trading.
Yeah.
But obviously, hopefully you minimize your errors as you grow through your trading career. What was the at first, let's say. Start with that
At
first.
first, it was the mindset of taking a loss was hard. Um, Although, every strategy incurs losses. It's part of trading, and it's the I think the one thing that the newer students should learn first. To be honest, I think it's one of the biggest safeguards in the industry of trading is to know how to take a loss and be okay with taking a loss, and know that taking a loss is normal, right? Like you want to be. We're perfectionists in our own crafts. We want to get the top tick and the bottom tick, and we don't want to let our positions go against us, and all those little things is good to see and good to analyze and have in the back of our minds. But taking a loss is part of the game, and my biggest mistake was not being able to take a loss when I should have.
Letting them run.
Exactly. You're right. Like I would cut my winners too short because I got greedy on the profits, and I would let my losers run because I didn't want to lose those profits. So
Fear.
that
It's
was
fear and hope, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it is in trading. When you're in a losing position, you have hope that it's going to come back,
Exactly.
and when you're in a winning position, you don't want to give those profits back
Exactly,
to the market. So
exactly.
we cut so soon.
Exactly. So you've got, 20% winners turn into, you cut them at 20 and they keep dropping to 40 because one time in the previous month, my 20% win was given back to the market because for whatever reason, the stock bounced, and I got so fearful of that happening. And I was like, once I see the green, I don't like going to red or I don't like giving it back. So that was a big hurdle that I went through. And now it's just, I follow stats.
Yeah.
I'm a stats man. That's it. That's the biggest flick.
So that was at the beginning. How about now? What would be maybe some mistakes that you see? Obviously, they probably don't happen quite as often,
Yeah.
but what would you say are some potential hurdles now that you're going through?
My biggest hurdle right now is trading when tired, trading on little sleep. The mental side is not there, is not as sharp. Sometimes I'll do mental mistakes, fat fingers. I'll just click in the wrong spot. I'll be limit instead of market, miss my entry, those little things. Sometimes I tend to oversize randomly, right?
Okay.
So I'll get in a position at a proper push, proper stock, but I'll calculate my position full size at the price of the open, for example. So those are the little hurdles that I've seen in the past. But other than that, it's pretty much, steady forward and profitable overall. It's just trading when tired is definitely a biggest one for me. I know that you've got a busy lifestyle.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think I've been trading tired for the last 5 years, but yeah, I notice it for
Yeah.
sure when you're running on an hour or two of sleep, whether it's the kids or whatever
Yeah.
other situation. Yeah, it plays with you.
It goes quick, man. And
Definitely.
it doesn't take much, right? Like people don't necessarily realize all the time, but the amount of mental space that it takes, the things that we look at and what we analyze in real time, and just like going over, all right, where are we at? Is this a proper push? What kind of play is it? Is it an A play, a B play, a C play? Sizing, full size versus half size. Why?
Yeah.
What are we looking at exactly? Is this gap up short, for example, or is this a first red day? Is this a V? Is it right? We had number ones, number twos, and number threes
Yeah, when
back
we
in the day.
started.
So like all those little things adjusted your
For the
sizing.
audience, they have no idea what
Exactly.
we're talking
That's
about.
all right.
But
That's all right. It's
yeah.
just blast from the past, and it's so much mental going on at the same time that you're kind of like picking and all right, where am I going to position myself and all that. So trading tired it kicks the
Yeah.
wind out of you. Like you get off that chair after a 2 hour session and you're like, whoa.
I often say that to my wife. Like, it's not physically tired, just mentally
Yeah.
drained. And
Yeah.
yeah, you try to. What do you do after that? After a trading session, how do you bounce back? Because oftentimes we're done.
Yeah.
By 11 o'clock, we're done with our trading day most of the time. What do you do to bounce back, or what's your routine like?
I like to journal.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to journal. I'll sit down on the couch or on the balcony if it's nice, pour myself a nice coffee, and I just journal. I write the thoughts down on a piece of paper. I have
Of
two
your
different
trading
journals.
or
Both.
okay.
I have two journals. Yeah, I have a trading journal, which is just like, log my trades. What did you like? What did you not like? Stats, and then just like actual notes on the trade. How did you feel? Why'd you get in there? Why'd you get out there? And I have a life journal that I started about 2 or 3 years ago now. And it's just thoughts on a piece of paper. And sometimes it helps unjumble, the big old mush in the brain. And it's just like sometimes my brain is just going a little too fast. And it just like doesn't necessarily create anxiety, but it feels like it's boiling up. And I'm like, let me put a few pieces of pen on paper, and it just kind of slows everything down. So every time I finish my trades in the morning, I'll get up, I'll put all my stats in, screenshot my trades, do all that fun stuff, and then I'll step outside, journal a bit, phone fiddle if needed, just to kind of like put the brain on pause for a sec, and then
For those of you who have seen Sean trade, he's always very calm. Don't want to say monotone because that sounds boring, but you're just very, very calm. And that probably part of that having that is because of your journaling, right? You get to have the clear mind.
Keep it super, super simple. Follow the stats, and I don't let anything else. Not anymore. I wasn't always like that. And for years, people who's seen me in trading desk for years, I was a student. I would hide behind my phone and not answer too many questions. Frank tried to have me on a few podcasts earlier on, and I don't know why. I was like, no, not yet, not yet, not yet. And then I leaped, and here we are. But I used to be a little bit more all over the place, and I think that journaling over the years and maturing really slowed everything down and definitely appeased everything. And now I'm much more poised in my trading.
And I think students appreciate that because I've heard the feedback from the students when you trade or others of our coaches. I think a lot of them appreciate, and I've heard this, how calm we are when we trade. We don't get overly excited. We're not down on ourselves when you win, when you lose. I think that's so important because trading technically shouldn't be exciting. I mean, we're all human. It should be boring, and that's how it should be. Whether you win or lose, that's how it should be because you're just playing stats. You're playing your strategy. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
That's it.
And I love how you trade. I love how calm you are. I find it calms everyone down. Because it's easy to get excited. I remember when I first started trading, I had my watch that was showing me I was having tachycardia. I was like, "Are you having a heart attack? What are you doing?" Because I was so nervous and like the excitement of it. And for yourself, how long did it take you to finally become profitable as a trader?
I mean, I was profitable off the bat swing trading.
Okay.
That was just luck of the timing, I guess, right? It was just like you pretty much could pick any stock on the stock market for about 6 months and everything shot through the roof. So that really gave me a boost of confidence. It probably was a bad thing, right? It was bad rewards. It was good profits for bad behavior, essentially. And then gave a bit of that profit back to the market and then started trading with Trading Desk. The first few months were tough for the reasons I mentioned before, where I didn't follow stats. I didn't keep stats, I should say. I knew what the strategy was, but I didn't keep track of them. And I was like, well, whatever. So I probably went around in circles for about 6 months and then slowed everything down, started keeping stats. And then I was working a lot at the time as well. So I couldn't trade as much as I wanted to. And I feel like one of the drawbacks that I had, and it was personal to me, it's not something that didn't work, is I would see the guys hit a really nice trade while I was stuck at work. And then the next day I'd show up and I'd be like, I got to make up for lost time. Right. So then you're taking bigger size, you're going, a little bit more far west, like guns blazing. So overall, it took me maybe 6 months to a year to really start producing proper profits, because it's hard, right? Like the first 3 months, you trade sideways. You figure out the system, the strategy, the platforms, yada yada. The next 6 months, you start making a little bit of money, but then you take one loss, oversized, brings you back to square one. So you're going around in circles. First year, I could have done myself a favor and become profitable much faster. But so many little aspects that you think you can control that you really don't.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah. And then all that just mushed in. A year. Took me a year to be profitable. Yeah.
And what would you have done differently? Let's say someone's starting off brand new. They're brand new, seeing this. Maybe this is their first exposure to a trading conversation. And what would you tell them? In their first year, what can they expect? What can they do to have profitability faster? Because obviously, that's everyone's goal is to be profitable. What would you tell them for advice?
Honestly, I feel like there's a huge misconception in the trading world where people are scared to start. And I think that if you've never been exposed to trading and you happen to land on this, it's probably the best thing you'll do. The reasoning behind it is it's built in a way where as long as you can follow direction, you can't get lost, right? That's how I see it. If you can follow what's being taught, everything else follows. So if you size accordingly, if you follow the strategy, if you don't go, oh, I can do this better, I can do that better. If you've traded before, it almost makes it worse because you come in with a preconception of, I know what I'm doing, which is my downfall when I started, because I was like, forever in French, they called me encyclopédian, right? They were like, Sean knows everything about the market, because I was market nerd, but I couldn't transfer that to actual profits on a chart, because I was like, I know what with this indicator and that strategy that this should go down. Market doesn't care. Couldn't care less, right? So it kept going up, and I was like, what do you mean it's going up? This should go down, right? And that's what hurt me the most. So if you're brand new, you have $1,000, you've never done this before, follow the stats. Let the stats come to you. Let the profits come to you. Speak in percentages. Don't worry about the money. Hide the P&L. A lot of people can't comprehend percentages. I say that very nicely, obviously, but everyone understands money. You see money, that trigger finger starts to happen. You see percentages, you couldn't care less. When people say, oh, I made 30% today. Oh, cool. Oh, I made $3,000 today. Whoa, you understand? Like, it's such a big difference in terms of what's 30%, right? So as long as you keep it in percentages for as long as you can, don't worry about the money. Everything follows. But just speak in percentages, follow the rules, follow the stats. Don't be stubborn. I think that's
So coachability, basically,
That's
comes
it.
down to is have a system, follow it, be as disciplined as you can. I think that's always the main takeaway is don't let your emotions get the best of you. I think that's
a different one. That's tough.
Yeah.
Emotions are always there. We're all human, right? We all have that in us, the desire to succeed and the desire to succeed quickly. And sometimes we do want to skip steps, and that's difficult, very hard not to do. But that being said, as long as you're okay with following the steps, and as long as you sometimes realizing that, I'm in revenge trade mode right now.
That's a big one.
Exit, right? Click away, go do something else, go take a cold shower, go for a run, go to the gym, go read a book, like just take a step back from the computers. And I think that's something that, we've done very well over the past, teaching the students. I call them the kids.
They do feel like they're your kids, right? You're molding them.
Yeah, exactly. Whenever you're teaching the students, we take a loss and we take it as a team, or sometimes I'm the only one taking the loss because, for whatever reason, step away from your computers, guys. Today's a no trade day. Step away. And I've put emphasis on step away, because I've been the student behind closed doors trying to revenge trade for no reason, right? I think we've all done it. I think it's a normal thing, because we don't want to end the day in the red. But once you realize that that's okay, and it's part of trading, and if you can control those losses, you'll make it back in no time, and then you'll be glad you didn't, keep digging that hole.
There's
'Cause
nothing worse than you take a normal loss that you're okay with, and then you double it, triple
oh,
it. That's the worst.
you
But we've
hate
all been there.
yourself.
Yeah, you
What have
hate
I
yourself.
done? I know
100%.
better than this.
I
And
know.
you take out the journal. You're like, I revenge traded today.
Yeah, and that's often what we teach, right?
Yeah.
Is what kind of loss did you take? One that it just your system didn't pan out today, or was
Yeah.
it an emotional one? Did you revenge trade? And
Yeah.
that's one of the worst things you can
Oh
do.
my God. And you can't fix it, right? When you're in that mode,
Yeah,
unless you've got that little angel on your shoulder saying like, don't do it, don't do it, then it's a little bit different. So we try and be that voice of reason who's like, guys, it's okay to take a loss, take it. But when you're like, all right, cool guys, we took a loss today, have a good one, we'll post the recordings, ciao bye, and people are stuck there in front of their computers and they're like, but what about this stock? And what about this stock? And then that's where they start digging holes. And sometimes the worst thing that happens is they take a bad trade and they win.
Absolutely. We often talk about that. Creates bad
It's
habits.
so bad.
Yeah.
Because then they come back the next day and they're like, they'll do it again and they'll do it again and they'll do it again. They'll never tell you. You'll never know, but you know it's happening.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, they'll tell you about the wins.
Yes.
They just don't tell you about all the other ones.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So
for yourself, what kind of what's your main strategy now? What kind of trading do you do now?
So right now I'm short biased, gap up short, wait for that morning push. I trade penny stocks up to roughly $10. I'll take a few double tops from here and there, depending on time frame, day, volume, few little things. I like to keep the market cap under the float, under 50 million in terms of whatever we trade. And then I just like to look for stocks with a decent extension, and then a big morning push with decent volume, analyze a top, take a short from there, and then just let it ride on the way down. Try and take profits in spots that make sense. And that's
So when
it.
you started trading, you were long biased, and now
buddy.
you flipped the switch.
Flipped the switch.
Now you're a short seller.
Flipped it quick enough. So when I started trading, it was, like I said, right, everything was going up and the extensions were there. But being someone who was analyzing the market, because I loved every aspect of it, I was like, all these stocks keep falling. How do I get a piece of the pie when it's going down, right? And forever, the platform I was using just didn't allow me to short sell. And then Trade Zero, without plugging, any specific platform, that's the one I use personally. Trade Zero, legal in Canada, everything's legit, and it's just like easy to get in, easy to get out. Everything makes sense. Not overly expensive either. And that allowed me to start short selling. And it's much easier now, having seen both sides, for me to analyze a stock that is on the way down than to bottom feed and try and pick up a stock from the bottom and have it send it up.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. If you can put yourself in the mindset of the buyers and the sellers, you'll have a much better understanding of how the market is moving and why it'll respond in certain areas. 100%.
Yeah.
I agree. And how would you say you manage your stress? Because that's a big one. A lot of
That is a very big
traders,
one.
they're stressed out in trades, before trades, during a trade, after a trade. What do you do? What's your routine like? It could be before, a pre-market routine and post-market. How do you go about that?
Pre-trading desk, it was all over the place, right? So it was a hold and hope strategy, especially swinging long is tough. I'd go to bed anxious. I'd wake up in the morning anxious. What was tough at that time is the platform I was using wouldn't allow me to trade until 8 a.m. And a lot of the stocks were pumping as of 6. So between 6 to 8, I was glued to my phone praying it didn't come down, right? And at 8, I'd have an order ready to go to try and either sell shares or do what I had to do. That was super stressful. And I think that's why I took a huge step away, / I stopped swing trading altogether. Being a hostage to the market was very difficult for me. Whereas day trading, I'm in and out in the same day. So I'll sleep on both my ears in the night, even if I took a loss that day. If I have an open position and overnight, or I'm stuck not being able to control my position because I can't trade at any moment during the time frame, that becomes very difficult for me. So that was very stressful. having lived that and now, managing every second of the trade is much different, very, very different, much easier. That being said, the only times that I've ever felt stressed is when I was oversized. So size control is my number one thing. Keep everything to a number that I'm comfortable trading with and analyzing what I'm willing to lose before I take a position.
So walk us through that. So when you wake up in the morning, what would be your process? So first thing, like walk us through your day as a day trader. Like you open your eyes, then what
So
happens?
it's not as glamorous that it might seem online.
Never is.
I don't, pour fancy water in a bowl with ice and squeeze lemons.
Yeah.
We've all seen that. I don't do that. I wake up in the morning, make myself a cup of coffee, throw my trading desk t-shirt on, turn the cameras on, get everything rolling, do a quick mic check, make sure everything works. Then I'll open up my Trade Zero. I'll make a quick rundown of the top list, see what I'm looking at, see what I like. If there's anything really interesting, I'll check the price of the shares. I'll check a little bit of the financials of the company, see where it stands. If it makes sense, I'll check the daily and yada, yada, yada. And then from there, I'll locate the shares that I'm looking to trade that day. I'll start building my stats right away. So I'll have my stat sheet open and I'll connect around 9 a.m., fire it off, and then just get the day going from there. 9 to 9:15, bit of a talk to talk, what's up, guys? How we doing? And then 9:15, I'll jump into a pre-market analysis. So what I really like, what we're looking at, why not, right? The distinctions between, and it's not just I don't like this, don't worry about it. It's I don't like this, and this is why. I always like to give the why. It just helps people really understand. And then 9:30 market opens, execute the plan. So I always see it as analysis number one is my pre-market, and then analysis number two is my market open, right? So if my plan works and they fit together, then I'll execute the plan. And if it doesn't, then I move on with my day. I'll normally stay connected until at least 10:30, 10:45 at times, rarely past 11 a.m. I don't like taking a position after 10:30. That's like a little rule that I have. If I'm in a position and I have to hold it past that time, it's a little bit different. But technically, time is on our side. So as time moves on, stocks should go down. So all those little things is what I'll look to do, and then disconnect around 11 a.m. at the latest, and then I'll move on with my day, journal, stats, and then go from there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right on. And how would you say, what would you say is more important, mindset or technicals, like the technical analysis? Are they both important? What would you say is more important?
Nature versus nurture here. Mindset is more important because you can have the best technical analysis and your mindset is poo-poo. It's not going anywhere. You can have a good mindset, know how to trade, and your technical analysis will come with time. I think that you'll develop a strategy, or, as long as you know where your head's at and you can keep the head under check, then the rest will follow. You can have the best stats in the world. You can have the best strategy. You can, be promised 90% win rate, 95% win rate. And if your head's not there, one bad trade, you're done. You're done. I think that the mindset is really number one, and then everything follows. So
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Do you think trading's more of an art or a science, and why? Yeah.
That's a great question. Art or science?
I guess that kind of goes along with mindset
Yeah.
or technicals.
Yeah.
Kind of in that same realm.
I think it's more of an art.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more of an art. There is some science to it. I don't think it's, 100 to 0. It's more of a 55-45. Why? Couldn't tell you. It's just a feeling I have.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you, because trading eventually, even if you have a system, like we have a couple hundred students, but even within that realm, everyone's going to have a different style of trading.
Very well said.
You're going to see people have, more patience, less patience. They're trigger happy, or they're, whatever
Very
the
well
case may
said.
be. So even though a lot of us, we trade the same stocks, you're going to see different results. And that's based on their strategy, how they see it, how their past experiences, scars.
Right. Yeah, honestly,
scars.
yes, honestly. Yeah, scars will have a lot to do with it. That's for sure. No, it's very true. You said it perfectly, actually, because you can have the same parameters for everything, and if it was science, then everyone would have the same results, right? But if it's an art, it's up to interpretation a little bit, right? So you paint your own chart technically. So it's definitely more on the art side than the science side. You're right.
Yeah. And what would what came to mind is scars. What would you say was your biggest scar in trading? There's always, I mean, if you've been trading long enough, I'm sure everyone has those days that it got away from you. It was a big loss, and what happened? Do you have a story behind maybe a situation like that?
I took
How'd you overcome?
Yeah, I took a big loss on a ticker about 3 years ago,
Okay,
and the market was just strong. I had no reasons to take that trade, and I just never cut.
so it didn't fit the
It
pattern.
didn't fit the pattern.
It's just
I
okay.
was just that was the day I was feeling good, and I think that my biggest issue was I know that at the time I was taking big trades, and the money was rolling in. Right, the sizing was big, and the bigger the trade, the more confident I felt, and I got a little cocky with one of those trades, and I was like, "Oh, this should come down. This should come down. Why isn't this coming down? This isn't coming down. Oh no, it's too late," kind of thing. So it wasn't an account blower or anything. It was about 25% of the account I blew in one trade, which is huge in the
That's
trading world.
significant.
It's
Yeah,
massive.
yeah.
And then I kind of took the following day, I sat down in front of the computer, but I sat on my hands. And I was like, you're going to learn to not have any FOMO, any fear of missing out. I was like, you're going to learn to downsize. You're going to follow stats properly. And that was like, a bit of a kid touching the stove moment. I was like, let's see how hot this can get. And that's really where it kind of clicked. That's my biggest scar. And I think it's definitely one that has brought me the most amount of good in my trading career. One solid loss was an expensive lesson, but it's a lesson that I don't think I'll ever need again.
Okay.
And I think it's something that scared me enough and slapped me enough in a sense of, hey, this can't happen, right? Like you have to be on top of your game, and the market doesn't care how big you are, what day it is. Is it your birthday? Right? I hear a lot of traders trade, and a lot of traders will say this. They won't trade on important days because you have that feeling of invincibility, and you're like, oh, it's my birthday, it's my anniversary, it's Christmas, for example, right? It's like, oh, I'm gonna go big. I can't lose today, and you have that feeling of today's the day that, like, of all days, I'm gonna take a big win. A lot of traders try to avoid those days to not go oversized and to stay in control. So again, mindset is everything, but that biggest scar was definitely that one trade.
You often hear that story. Usually the biggest losses come after the biggest wins because you have that
course.
sense of euphoria. You're
Exactly.
invincible.
Yeah.
When you say not trading, I remember actually trading on my birthday, and the ticker that we were trading was Mira, which happens to be my cat's name. So I was like, I'm going
boy.
to take this one. And you know what? It was actually a good trade,
Yeah.
but that one came to mind.
It takes one to remember.
It does. It does. And now, how do you manage your position sizing and risk management? What's your philosophy on that? How do you have I guess, a concept of how to grow your positions, or do you stay pretty same? Have you stayed at the same position for a long time, or have you slowly grown your position sizing? How do you go about that?
So I'll always take the same size. Well, two things. I'll have either A size play or B size play.
Okay,
Right?
so the quality of the
Quality
setup.
of the setup, right? It's going to affect how much money I'm willing to invest in that type of play. And then from there, automatically dictates how much money I'm willing to lose, right? So the better the opportunity, I'll give it a bit more wiggle room. And then the lower the quality, then I'll keep it a bit tighter because it's not something that I'm willing to pull out as much, right? So when you talk about that risk reward ratio and that kind of stuff, I like to keep it to 2.5 to 1, 3 to 1 type. So if I risk 10%, then I'm willing to make 30 and vice versa. That being said, the way I function is I split my position in two. So let's talk fictional numbers, 500 and 500. So $1,000 max. Of the $1,000 that I'm putting in that play, if I'm making 20%, I'll basically attempt to double that $1,000. Once it's been doubled, then I'll go up.
Okay.
And then once it's been doubled, let's say I go from 1,000 to 2,000, then I'll go with 1.5. So I'll go 1,500, for example. So I always go up in increments because it's always easy, and it's the market once again doesn't care. The second you go up in size is the day you take a loss.
Yeah, that's often the way it goes. Eh?
Right? So every time I go up in size, I don't just double my size. And there's a bit of madness to my method. But every time I double the amount that I'm using, then I will adjust my size to the upside. But I won't just, double the size that I normally use. I'll go up 1.5 and then I'll adjust. And it's not necessarily a monthly thing. It's not a weekly thing. It's not a 3-month thing. It's literally when I manage to double it. So sometimes when the market's stronger and I'm doing really well, I go up in size maybe twice a month, or once every 3 weeks if I manage to double that money. And then when the market's a bit slower or I take a loss, then I'll stick around at the same sizing for the same amount of time.
That's good. It's good to hear that you do have a system for that.
Yeah.
Because I do get that question a lot. I'm sure you do as well. As a coach, is when do I size up? How much? Do I double? Is it incremental? Yeah, right on.
It's funny though, one of the things that we tell the students, once you've doubled your account, take that money out. It's huge. It's good for the psyche. It's good for the mental.
Yeah.
It's good to be able to tell yourself that I have made money on the market and I am now playing with house money, right? You hear that often with the quotation marks. But that's a huge step in becoming a trader, especially a profitable trader, being able to take that first lump of investment out, safeguard it, put it on the side for a rainy day, and then just do the same thing again. But having that in the back of your mind saying, I've done it before, I can do it again. Yeah. That's huge. So that's
financially, it's not great because you're removing that money that you want to grow, but 100%. For the mental side of things that you're,
but it'll do you more good than the slow growth or the slower growth for the first 6 months to a year that you'll have in your career. It'll just be a bit of a proof to yourself that I've done this, I can do it, and I can do it again. Put it aside and then, start trading or keep trading the same way. And then once you've doubled it again, then I go up in size. So that's normally how I approach it.
What do you think really separates successful traders versus unsuccessful traders? Is it a character trait? Is it, what would you say separates the two? Because we know statistically, we hear we hear this all the time, about 90% of traders fail. Or they fail to get consistently profitable. And what would you say separates those two camps?
The mental. It's all in the head.
Comes down to the mental.
It comes down to the mental. Once again, it's the most important part of your trading is how you see trading, how you approach it. Do you see it as today I got to make back what I lost yesterday, or do you approach every day as a brand new day? Right? Is every single opportunity weighing the same for you? Do you know how to analyze the difference? Do you revenge trade? Do you have any preparation? Do you show up at 9:25 and expect to, have everything fall on your lap and not put the work behind? Do you keep stats? Do you go over your stats? Do you analyze your trades? Do you use screenshots to good trades and the bad trades? A lot of traders, they only talk about the wins. They don't talk about the losses, right? I rather look at my losses and what have I done here? 100%. And at the end of the day, I'm like, I was exhausted. I took this trade. It was a terrible trade, horrible entry, even worse exit. Like, what are you doing? Take a step back, go take a nap. Should not have traded today or wasn't feeling great. Like those things is a good way to learn about yourself, 100%. Know who you are. And a lot of people just don't do that work. They think that trading happens just in front of the screen, but it's everything leading to
90%, like 10% is in front of the
screen.
The rest is
right. It's all the preparation that you do to analyze what you see on the screen that really means. A lot of people don't see it that way. They think that it all happens in front of the screens and that's all that is depicted out there. Right. No one ever shows a stat book or a stat sheet or how to build one or how to keep track, how to maintain it, how to analyze it, how to slow down, speed up. Okay, you're holding your losers too long, but you're not letting your wins win, right? How many times have we had, you had a 73% win recently. I've had a few 45% winners recently. past Sean would have been all out at 20%, call it a day, right? But then you don't do that with your losses because you're still like, if you're not following the stats, oh, maybe this one will turn around,
Maybe.
right? Hold and
Hold
hope.
and hope. Yep.
So those little things is what I think really destroys the 95% of traders out there who don't make it longevity wise. They get excited. You trade well for 6 months and then you completely lose track. You don't realize that there's a market rotation, right? And the market just doesn't go around in circles. It goes around in this weird sphere that you never know in which direction you're headed. So time in the market beats timing the market is something that we've heard often. I see it as being part of screen time, right? Being behind your computer. People close their computers really quickly when there's nothing. I like to sit back and watch. If there's a few stocks that are super low float in SSR, I won't trade them, but I'll look at what they're doing.
That's the key there,
Right?
is to sit on your hands.
I'll look at what I'll sit on my hands, but I'll literally like, get real comfortable and pull one of these, and I'll watch and I'll be like, all right, where are we headed today? What's this thing doing? Right? How much volume is going in? What's the money value? How much money has this stock transferred hands? Right? And all that overall kind of gives me a better grasp on the market and what's actually happening. So I think that's all that, but mental first, and then the strength and mental to do the rest of the work. The leg work is in the details.
Yeah. So we talked about how a lot of trading is 10% front of the screen, 90%. I think that's a big misconception that's out there, is people think it's just about clicking the buttons. What other misconceptions would you think exist in the world of trading?
A lot of people compare us to the casino. That's slightly frustrating at times. And
Or just gambling.
It's just gambling. Oh, you guys are just gambling. Oh, yeah, you're doing well now, but everything's going to crash and burn. Or the misconception that you can't make money on the way down. It's a family discussion, and what should I buy next? I get that all the time. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't want you to buy anything.
Short everything.
Short everything. I'm not holding anything.
Yeah.
Oh, what's in your RSPs? I'm like, nothing you need to know. Like, I got nothing in there, right? Like, I'm liquid everywhere because I don't like. I'm one who doesn't like the market on the long side. I just like to be a bit more liquid. And I said it before, I sleep much better when I have no open positions, which is why day trading for me drawed me in so nicely. I go to bed with no open positions. Now I'm also in an account building phase, and it's been ongoing, right? And I've got aspirations of getting an account that is sizable, and then I will diversify. But right now there's no need to for me, right? So that's one thing. But other than that, misconceptions, it's just the generic stuff, right? It's the, what should I buy? How can you make money if the market's not good? Or you must be happy Trump's in power. I'm like, it has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm doing. And no Lambos or Ferraris. So
I think people also think that as a day trader, you're trading every day. I hear that a lot. As a day trader, you're kind of a sniper. You're just waiting for the best opportunities. Doesn't mean you're trading every day.
That's true. Very fair.
I see that one
a lot of people are, they associate it to crypto a lot, I find, which is, it's hard to explain exactly what we do sometimes. But the difference between, crypto, Forex, and what we do is we have specific finite amount of time to do it. Right? There's no overnights, there's no weekends, there's no we have days off, which is what is so appealing to me, but a big misconception to some people as well. Oh, you must be up at 4 a.m. trading pairs. I was like, nah, man, I'm in bed by 8, 9, so.
I love that about our trading style. We trade very similarly. I think as far as balance and lifestyle goes, we trade in the morning. We're done usually by 11 o'clock, and you can enjoy life and do your hobbies and spend time with family. And I agree with you. And all right, maybe we kind of talked a little bit about this, but if you were a brand new student starting with $1,000, how would you go about it?
Listen to your coaches, man.
So find mentorship.
Find mentorship, listen to your coach, get a strategy that works, for you, right? It doesn't mean that short selling is for everybody. If what we do happens to occur few times a week between 9:30 and 11 a.m., if that time frame is impossible for you, then don't bash yourself trying to get that done. But the number one thing is don't be scared to start. People who've never done it before, if you find the strategy that works and you can listen and apply what you're taught properly, I think that it's one of the greatest assets that we can have, especially in modern history. We no longer have to pick up phones to buy and sell shares, right? So everything's done online and so fast, and it's such a huge difference in second income, just extra little money coming in here, vacation money, vacation funds, retirement funds. Some people want to do it as a second job. Some people want to do it as a full-time job. But I think that starting is very scary. I think that people think that it's super technical when it doesn't have to be. And I think that people are, the idea is misconstrued that as long as you can listen and apply what you're being taught, the rest should follow.
I hear the question a lot. How much do you need to start trading? What's your take on that question? I'm sure you hear it a lot too.
I hear it often. It takes money to make money, right? It's the oldest tale in the world. So you've got people who'll approach me and be like, "Hey, I got $500 to start," and I'm like, you'll figure it out, but you're gonna go around in circles, because one thing that isn't talked about a lot, it's expensive just to have the account up and rolling if you have such a small account. So let's say Trade Zero, $50 a month for the platform. You got to pay to locate shares, right? Because we're borrowing the shares that we used to sell to then buy back cheaper. The idea of short selling is not always super easy. The fees associated to any broker, right? Because of the transaction costs. And so those little things add up really quickly if your account is smaller. So my number, I normally tell people anywhere between 5,000 and up Canadian is a good spot to start. Start off slow. And then the other thing I get often asked as a question is, oh, why so much if I just want to learn? It's hard to learn if there's no money at stake. And it's easy to make a mistake. And whenever I say start with 5, I don't mean trade 5, right? You start with 5, you trade $100 for the first month. I don't care. 2 months, 6 months. But as you get more comfortable, having access to the funds is your biggest asset, right? But with that comes controlling emotions, not oversizing, understanding that trading $100 is not a punishment. It's learn to deal with emotions, percentages, strategy, everything that comes with it. But 5 is a good number. And then as you grow, I wouldn't even go over 10, to be honest, because then it's too easy to get excited, right? You'll trade well for 3 months. You'll oversize, blow the account.
Yeah, for sure. And what's your take on paper trading? Because you
Hate it.
Hate it?
Hate it.
Hate
paper trading.
Explain. And I'm of the same opinion, but go ahead, explain.
Paper trading is tough because there's no emotions involved, right? It's like it's the same as like, hey, let's play a friendly game of basketball, or let's play a game of basketball for a championship. To me, it's the same. The difference between practice and real life. A lot of players will do very well in practice and they'll choke under pressure in real life, right? Same thing happens behind the screen. Learning to manage the emotion of, oh, this actually means something, you can't fake. I can paper trade $1 billion tomorrow and just, haha, look at me, right? Like exactly. You're not going anywhere. Yeah. And yes, okay, you can potentially see the setup, the sizing. You can work a little bit on that. But the biggest aspect in trading is your mental. And it's the one thing you don't use when you're paper trading. How to, calm yourself in stressful situations. Am I oversized? Am I undersized? Is the stock going against me? Are we halting up? Are we halting down? Am I excited to win? Even that is something that, I'm not excited to lose. I'm not scared to lose, but you also have to temper the excitement to win, right? Whenever you're up 15% of a big position and you're like, oh, I should all out. no, man, strategy says 20, 25, 30 is where you can milk it. You're at this percentage. This is where it's going. Your supports are over here. That you can't fake in paper trading. And I think that that is a huge drawback, because you then roll into real trading with money that you think you're comfortable trading, but hasn't never mattered.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're taking massive positions and you don't know how to actually manage the stress.
And it's funny because it doesn't even need to be massive positions. I've seen people risk $5, $10 and they're sweating, you know, because it's just now it's real.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100%. And would you recommend, do you have any books or podcasts that you listen to or would recommend?
Podcast number 1 right here, baby. I mean, it's the generic stuff. I started off, I didn't go the generic route, but I ended up in the generic scene, if I may. I started off with How to Day Trade for a Living by Andrew Aziz. He's a very well-spoken gentleman from British Columbia, if I'm not mistaken. And his lifestyle, he explains it not just as a technical analysis book, but like he'll throw a little, this is what I do during my day. I'll wake up at, 5:45, go for a run, trade, then strap the skis to the top of my car and go ski all afternoon. And I was like, that's amazing, right? So it started off with those. He's got a few of those books that were really, really good. And then I did a bit of candlestick analysis just for fun. Really enjoyed that. And then I read, super unrelated but kind of related, Warren Buffett's book, which was really interesting. And then I had The Intelligent Investor. Fantastic story. I read, what's the other one? I'm drawing a blank on the other book, but it's
We often hear Trading in the Zone.
Trading in the
That's
Zone
a classic
is
for emotional.
Yeah, I've read that twice now. And I didn't go too much into depth like with the reading itself. There's a lot of like online videos and just analysis, like every style, just to see what suits me. But overall, a few podcasts, few books, and then Trading in the Zone just for the mental side.
Do you ever treat yourself after a green day, a big win? Do you ever do anything, or do you just
not
keep
yet?
going? No,
not yet. No, I have something specific in mind.
wanna
I
share?
have
Not
I have a
yet.
specific number that I want to get to, and then I want to get a nice watch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Watch guy. All
Yeah,
right.
so I'd like to get a Hamilton Cocky Field. That's a nice little mechanical watch that I'm eyeing out for. Not overly expensive. We're talking like $1,500, give or take. But I have little goals that I want to achieve, like number wise and account wise. And then I like to treat the girlfriend and nice dinner, bottle of champagne, like the little stuff. But don't overdo it, obviously. But yeah,
I agree. In the world of trading, all you see online is the Lambos and
Yeah,
the mansions and all
exactly.
that. Most people, it's just if you can live off of your trading, live comfortably on your terms, I think you've won
That's
the
it.
game of trading.
That's it.
Right on. And if you weren't a trader, what would you be doing?
Oh my God. I don't know.
So you said before this you were in restoration,
Yeah. So
owning some bars and restaurants. Anything
I hit a
else?
wall.
Okay.
I hit a wall in the industry. 16 years. I'm going to be 32 in a month. I've been doing this for half my life. And I realized that like miss out on a lot of the little things, right? Christmas, St. Pat's weekend, friends' birthdays, 5 à 7, Friday nights, Saturday nights, like those they tend to disappear really, really quickly. I love what I do, but I just don't like the lifestyle anymore. So it would either be, had I stayed in the industry, I'd try and adjust the schedule to either have a day schedule and just really focus on that. But I don't have a third
Nothing
goal.
else.
I'm kind of easygoing, multiple little trades, construction with my dad, little things, but nothing specific as, I'd be a doctor or I'd be yeah.
And so you've been trading. So you started this journey as basically a student, and eventually you transitioned into a coach. I know we were asking you, Frank was asking you for many, many years, hey, how would you feel about being a coach with us? We liked your style. Obviously, you're getting good results. And so how did that all come about, wanting to be a coach?
I like the teaching side of things, and I think that it comes natural whether it's just good service overall, not to compare the two, but in the restaurant industry, I rather do things really well and at a smaller scale than go oversize and butch things. I love teaching people how to get better at whatever it is. And then over time, my trading really improved, and there was an opening, there was demand. Frank was like, join us, join us, join us. And I was like, you know what? I think it's time. Like my knowledge has gone to a place that I'm comfortable transferring it, right? And I'm someone who I rather take my time and do it properly than to jump in when there's an opening and kind of like butch it up a little bit. So now the timing was right, and I took the leap, and here I am. Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. Anything that's about all I had for questions. Anything else that you want to share? Tips, advice, anything. Floor is yours if you want to give any advice or anything.
Take the leap, man. Honestly, as cliche as it might come off, the trading lifestyle is beautiful if you can practice and keep the day job. If you can hustle for a little bit and do both, and really like take your time, do the work on the side. And it's very difficult to do. It's not something that's easy and it comes naturally all the time. But if you can focus on learning that second trade, which is trading.
I like that advice as far as keeping your job at first. A lot of people are very in a hurry they want that title or whatever you want to call it as full-time day trader. But yeah, there's nothing worse than being a trader that needs to make money.
Exactly.
Because you're going to jump into bad trades and put too much sizing.
Yeah. The stress, it's easy to trade when you have a second income. The stress really kicks in double time when you have to make the trade, right? And that's where you don't have to, but your head tells you do. And that's where if every opportunity that you take, you think you have to win, and then those losers get away from you, and then you take your profits a little too soon. I think that's where the importance of keeping that second job for as long as you can is super important. And then from there, it really alleviates the stress. So that might be the biggest piece of advice is, start off, keep the second job, build that account, double it, take some money out, keep doubling. And then, maybe for some people, it'll forever be a second income or a retirement plan, right? Trade a few $1,000s here and there, make some money, cover some expenses, but not necessarily have to depend on hitting those huge trades to survive.
How would you define success as a trader?
Financial.
I think there's a lot of, again, misconceptions, I would say, or just different perspectives. I think I'd like to hear what your definition of success is.
Definition of success as a trader for me is just financial freedom comes with lifestyle, right? If you can find a lifestyle that works for you, and you don't have to have the lavishness that comes with it, but being able to control your emotions is probably the biggest piece of success that you'll do as a trader, regardless of the sizing of the account. And then understanding that you have control over what you have control over, and that the market doesn't care how you think, and that as long as you keep yourself in check, everything else will follow. Keep your stats, right? Keep everything sizable, keep everything under control, and then just go from there. That's the easy route to success for me as a trader is really not overdoing anything.
I like that. I like that, especially as a trader. It's a journey of self-discovery, I find.
Yeah.
Like you'll learn all your emotions, how you respond to stress, and how you respond to winners. And I find how you live outside of trading, you'll see that reflection happen in your trading career. If you're a disciplined person outside of trading, you'll often see that happen as a trader. That's why we often compare it to being a professional athlete, right? They're disciplined with their nutrition and their workouts and everything else in their life. They go to bed early. Well, trading should almost be no different, where you have to see this as a professional sport where you have to perform. Your 100%. Mind has to be sharp. Your body has to be sharp. If you're tired, you're going to take those bad trades.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, right on. Well,
sick. Well done.
Thanks for joining us, Sean. And
Anytime.
if there's anything else, otherwise we're gonna end it at that. Right on. Nice to finally meet you in person.
There you go. Only took 5 years.
Yeah, here we are. Right on. Well,
Sick.
that's it
Well
for
done.
today, and we'll see you tomorrow on the trading floor.
Absolutely.
All right. See ya.
Sick.